I'm Farah Duro, and you're listening to the PCOS Revolution podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the PCOS Revolution, Season 4, Episode 1. I really wanted to take some time out today to talk about some of the mistakes that I see when women are trying to overcome their PCOS symptoms. Over the past 2 decades, I've worked with women in my clinic with PCOS who want to overcome weight gain, acne, mood swings, and irregular cycles naturally with diet and lifestyle changes, acupuncture, and herbal medicine. So as a licensed acupuncturist with a specialty in Oriental reproductive medicine, who's overcome most of my PCOS symptoms myself using these very methods, I just wanted to make you aware of some of the most common roadblocks that might come up for you along your PCOS journey. So I want to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes I've seen over the years. Now, I've made some of these mistakes myself, and just a warning, I'm going to be throwing a lot of information your way. So I've created a little cheat sheet for you to download. Just go to the show notes and click on the link and you'll be all set. So no worries if you're listening to this in your car and you can't take notes, I've got you covered. So let's get started. The first mistake I see is a real biggie. It's not asking enough questions. So imagine if you've just gone to your doctor's appointment to find out why you've been experiencing issues with getting pregnant or why your cycles are wacky, and when you leave, you still don't have any answers. Well, believe it or not, this actually happened to one of our patients last week, and it's more common than you think. So this patient actually had no idea she had PCOS, even though she had been treated for infertility for the past 4 months. No one told her, and this was actually a patient she was seeking treatment at a fertility center. And looking at her notes and her ultrasound reports, it clearly stated PCOS on her ultrasound report, meaning she had so many follicles that they just couldn't count all of them. So that's what they wrote. And they didn't share this with the patient. So, as a practitioner and somebody who's dealt with this for many years, I just got really frustrated, and this happens all the time. So I just want to make you aware that if you don't have straight answers, or even 50% of the women who have PCOS don't even know they have it. So this could be happening to a friend of yours or a family member who's just been struggling with irregular cycles, not getting pregnant, going through treatments, and not knowing that they have PCOS, and not knowing that there are things that could be helping them. So before you leave, before you leave your practitioner's office, I want you to ask the following questions. Okay, number 1, what did my labs or ultrasound tell you about my condition? So let's say they do say, yes, you do have PCOS, this is what's going on. I still want you to ask for a copy of your labs. That's your right. And you have the ability to ask for any lab work that you've had done or ultrasounds. So number 2 would be to ask for a copy of your labs. And number 3, I would ask the question, what types of treatment could I try before committing to medication? Because a lot of times a prescription is written, but there are other options out there. And we know that with PCOS, the first line of treatment should be diet and lifestyle changes. And that is actually indicated by the World Health Organization as well. So the first line of treatment should be options that you can actually pursue before going the medicated route, meaning birth control or metformin, or if you're trying to get pregnant, straight to IVF. There's definitely so many more options. So I would ask, what kind of options do I have? And number 4, I would say, how long should I wait until I retake my labs to determine if this treatment or recommendation is working? So let's say you do get started on metformin, or you are starting on a fertility regimen. We need to know, and even a natural treatment as well, supplements or acupuncture, when do you go back to get your labs rechecked? Because what if you're taking things that are actually lowering your blood sugar too much? So we need to know how that's working for you. And what about your insulin levels? How about your cholesterol? Is that improving? So you need to ask that question, how long should I wait until I retake my labs? And those are just for starters, but I really want you to consider including these questions in the conversation with your healthcare provider before you leave the office. And whether you're going to go to your IVF doctor or your gynecologist or your acupuncturist who's ordering your labs, like in Florida, we actually order lab work for our patients, or your naturopath, or whoever you're seeing, those are the questions you need to be asking. Okay, and number 2, the second mistake is believing that birth control will cure your PCOS. So this is another big one. After working with women with PCOS for over 20 years, and I often see birth control recommended still as the first line of treatment from a very early age. So while birth control might help with some of your symptoms temporarily, it is a Band-Aid approach, and it can lead to worsening of insulin resistance and vitamin B12 deficiency over time. So what if you're contemplating getting pregnant? It's definitely not treatment for you. So again, the first line of treatment for PCOS is not birth control, it's diet and lifestyle changes. So if you've already implemented those and you are still needing to be on birth control for different reasons, definitely go for it. But knowing that it is not going to be the cure for PCOS, because what happens when you get off birth control, the PCOS is still there. It does not go away. So it is a chronic condition that needs to be addressed in a multifaceted approach, as we know. So if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you definitely know my feelings on that. So, and also I just want to reiterate that, let's just say you go the birth control route and you don't treat the PCOS at the root. So what happens later on? So when you reach age 40, it just blows my mind, but after age 40, 1 in 2 women will develop type 2 diabetes. So this, if left untreated, we know that PCOS can turn into type 2 diabetes. It can lead to high blood pressure, increases in cholesterol, changes in metabolism, depression, anxiety, sleep apnea, abnormal uterine bleeding. The list goes on. So if we're really not treating PCOS, not to scare anybody, but definitely this can happen, and we don't want to see that happen. This is one of the reasons why we do this podcast, is to make you aware that PCOS requires a treatment. And when obesity is coming into the picture, when you have weight gain, severe weight gain, it can contribute to cancer of the uterine lining and gestational diabetes too when you're pregnant. So not to be a downer, but really all women should really talk to their doctor about getting their symptoms under control and preventing further health conditions from coming up, whether you're trying to get pregnant or not. So it's important to address it. And according to the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, women diagnosed with PCOS are twice as likely to be hospitalized for heart disease, diabetes, and mental health conditions, reproductive disorders. And along with that, insulin resistance was found in 95% of overweight women with PCOS and 75% of lean women with PCOS. So, relatedly, women with PCOS have more than a 50% risk of getting type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes before age 40. So definitely we need to think of better treatments than just birth control alone. And if that's what your doctor is insisting, then definitely you need to look a little deeper at that. The third mistake is blaming yourself and believing you'll never be able to get pregnant if you have PCOS. Definitely we see this every single day with patients that walk into our office, and there's a feeling that something they did caused their PCOS. And I want to assure you that having PCOS is definitely not your fault. There is nothing you did to cause it. And in my experience, there's a strong genetic link. And if you have PCOS, most likely you had it since you were a small child, way before you were diagnosed. And although no one can wave a magic wand overnight and give you a pill that will cure PCOS, you can and you will reverse most of your symptoms with a little diligence and patience. And the other biggie is that believing you'll never be able to get pregnant with PCOS. And I am here to tell you that that is definitely not true. While PCOS is a factor for many women's infertility, it's not an automatic effect. And many women that we work with and women with PCOS can get their hormones in balance simply by changing their diet and exercise routines, seeking out an integrative approach, such as medication to encourage ovulation depending on the severity and type of PCOS. So it's important to discuss your treatment options with your doctor to determine what will work best for you. And I'm talking about you if you never have periods on your own. And that is something that can be worked with gradually with herbal medicine, with acupuncture, with diet and lifestyle. Definitely you can do that. But some women will opt to go ahead and try Clomid or Femara or medicated cycles or IVF. And so definitely you have a lot of choices out there. And we have all the time situations where there hasn't been a cycle in months and months and months, and all of a sudden our patient shows up pregnant. So naturally, it happens all the time. So I don't want you to get into the mindset that you'll never be able to get pregnant if you have PCOS. And so yes, for women trying to become pregnant, PCOS can definitely make it harder to time the fertile days of your menstrual cycle when ovulation happens, because the cycles are irregular. So it can take longer to become pregnant if ovulation is only occurring every few months. So that's when most women with PCOS are more likely to seek out fertility treatments than people who don't have it. But research shows that over their lifetimes, people with and without PCOS have similar number of pregnancies and children. So in fact, the majority of women with PCOS who are trying to conceive will become pregnant and give birth without any fertility treatment at least once in their life. So I hope that that takes some of the blame and the fear out of a PCOS diagnosis for you. Now, over the last 2 decades of working with women with PCOS, I've seen this time and time again. So one of my very first patients that came to see me after I opened my practice in Fort Lauderdale not only had PCOS, but also had only one fallopian tube and only one ovary. And the interesting thing was that these happened to be on opposite sides of her body. So remarkably, she became pregnant 4 times naturally, but kept losing her pregnancies due to a rare blood clotting disorder, which she really didn't know about in the beginning. So after discovering what her problem was, her reproductive specialist referred her to me for acupuncture treatment. And to be honest, I really wasn't sure if I could help her, because she was already in her late 30s. She was not ovulating every month, and she did not want to use any medications to conceive, only the ones prescribed to help her with the blood clotting disorder when she became pregnant. And I just really hated to see her go through month after month of suffering. And so I didn't promise her anything, but we said, I'm going to try my hardest to do the best we can. And so within 4 months of acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine treatment, Lisa became pregnant, and she had a healthy baby girl with the help of an integrative approach. And the miraculous ability of her one polycystic ovary to produce a healthy follicle that then was able to cross over to the healthy fallopian tube on the other side to start its journey to the uterus was incredible. And after seeing what happened with Lisa, I knew anything could be possible with a little faith and collaboration between the best of both worlds, both Eastern and Western medicine. And she needed the help of both. So I want to also mention that Lisa almost gave up. Before she came to see me, she said, I'm done. I can't go through this anymore. And she actually credited her ability to keep going with the fact that she had faith in her ability of her body to be able to carry a pregnancy. And also working with acupuncture, she was able to overcome some of the stress and the fear involved in the whole process, and especially after she became pregnant. So I just want you to have hope and to know that it is possible if you persevere. And so this leads us to mistake number 4, which is not seeking the right help. So we all want to believe that our PCOS symptoms will just go away on their own or magically get better. And I'm here to tell you that dealing with PCOS, as I'm sure you know, is not something you should struggle with on your own. However, when you have the support of a like-minded group of women who are experiencing the same things that you're going through, like we did in our 30-day Jumpstart group, along with a knowledgeable healthcare team in the form of a reproductive specialist, an acupuncturist, a psychologist, or whatever specific form of care you need, you're golden. You're going to get through this. And never, ever be afraid to seek help. And if your current provider is not answering your questions, then it's never too late to seek a second opinion. And the 5th and final mistake that I see the most is following diet plans that fail. And I can't tell you how many diets our patients have tried, how many diets that I have tried over the years. And with every plan and every diet and every detox and every new thing that comes up, our metabolism just gets worse and worse. I really believe this. So when we started looking at what was working for our patients who actually kept the weight off, they lost the weight and they kept it off, and they were the most successful, those were the women that followed a whole foods approach and did not restrict themselves and say, this food is bad, I can't do this and that. Obviously, just eating healthier, more fresh fruits, vegetables, and foods they enjoyed, actually. And honestly, this can come up a lot because I was scared of bananas for several years, thinking, oh God, no, my glucose is going to go through the roof. I can't do that. Well, guess what? It turns out that bananas are nothing to be scared of, and they actually are really, really healthy for women who want to balance their glucose. We actually posted an article on our Facebook page about this recently. So the fear of food, the fear of failure when getting on and off the diet roller coaster, just sets up for more and more and more disappointment and eventually giving up. And that's not what we want. So when starting any new diet or program, I want you to ask yourself one question. Is this something I can see myself following when I'm 80? And if the answer is no, then most likely you're not going to sustain that program. So I'm here to tell you that I'm so confident that this is going to be your year and you can do this. I just want to thank everybody for listening this past year. This is an incredible journey that I've been on with you, and I'm just really looking forward to what the next year will bring. I will tell you that we're going to have some really wonderful experts on our show coming up in the field of PCOS. And during our next episode, we're going to speak to Dr. Marta Montenegro, who is a certified nutritionist in the field of reproductive medicine and PCOS. She has a wealth of knowledge, so I really can't wait to dive into some burning questions that some of our audience has had. And don't forget to download our freebie, which goes through the 5 biggest mistakes that most women are making when trying to overcome their PCOS symptoms. And I want you to share this list with a loved one. You can share it with your doctor, with somebody that you're close to. Because right now you might be making some of these mistakes, and I don't want you to waste your precious time and your precious energy on these. So let me know your thoughts. We've decided to keep our 30-day Jumpstart group open, and the sign-up form is still there. And we're going to actually make the 30-day Jumpstart year-round. So I couldn't close it because we've had such great energy in that group and wonderful feedback. And I feel like I just want to reach out to all of you. If you haven't had a chance to get into the group, I hope that you do. As we talked about before, PCOS requires support, and it's really, really important. And if you have support of other women who are going through the same things you're going through, you're going to come out so much stronger, and this journey will be so much more easier for you. So I want to thank you guys for listening once again, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. See you soon.
And that's the end of this episode of the PCOS Revolution podcast. If you've enjoyed the show and want to help me spread the word about how women with PCOS and hormonal imbalances can lead happier, more healthier lives, please head over to iTunes and leave us a review. They really do make a difference. If you'd like to have a question answered on the show or would like to recommend a guest, please go to floridacompletewellness.com/podcast. If you're on social media, you can follow me at facebook.com/Florida Complete Wellness and twitter.com/Florida Complete, where I post a lot of interesting research, webinars, and articles on our blog about really getting to the root of hormonal imbalances like PCOS. So it's a great way to stay in touch with the latest developments. Thanks so much for listening, and see you soon.